All right, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to the No Doubt About It podcast. Mark punching again.
Punching the heck out of this show.
Yeah, you are. And it's dark 30 again because it gets dark at like 2 every day now, basically.
I know. It's like we're living in Alaska. It's craziness.
I kind of already miss the sunshine. So when is the day that we start going back?
March.
No, I thought it was like in December. I thought December was the longest day. And then
no. December's the shortest day of the year, guys.
Shortest day. And then we start gaining time again.
Yeah. So we're gonna hit the winter solstice, and that's going to be
and we're going to start
fun
shifting
stuff.
back.
Yeah, right around the 21st of December.
Yeah, then we shift back.
Yeah. Then we
Slowly.
shift back. We start to get the longer days until we get to the summer solstice on June 21st-ish.
Yeah. Well, right now, we are constantly shooting in the dark is what it feels like.
Well, yeah, I don't blame you. That's exactly
what it feels
correct.
like.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, great turnout on our last show. We did a post-election show. Yeah. Our shows just continue to keep climbing. We've gotten some recent data on our show ratings, and right now we are the number one podcast in general in New Mexico, but definitely the news side of things. Our numbers are through the roof, and we really could not be there without those of you that tune in. So we really appreciate you guys
who have stuck with us. Thank you so much. This is doing what we wanted to do. We try to bring you as much information as we can. We've made some changes. We're going to make some more changes. We're going to tweak the studio eventually a little bit here.
We're going to jazz it up. Maybe no duct tape on the chairs. We're going to move on.
But that adds to the quality of kind of our hard Scrabble beginnings.
We are a
here.
hard Scrabble.
Yeah. So, it has been great. The numbers are huge. YouTube numbers are through the roof. Numbers on the podcast itself through podcast platforms are doing equally as well. So thank you so much for what you're doing. Please keep spreading the word here. We'll get the information out. And I think today's show is actually going to be fascinating.
Yeah. And let me just add really quickly.
Yeah.
That if you haven't liked and subscribed on our YouTube channel, please do so. Even if you listen on Apple or Spotify, like us and rate and review us there. But then please jump over to our YouTube channel and subscribe to us at least. And then if you want to sign up for our email, just go to nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com and sign up for our email. Promise I don't spam you. We just send you information about each show and a link to the show. So that way you don't miss anything. Thanks so much, though. We really appreciate everybody out there who is supporting us. We really appreciate it.
No, it is great, and we do. And let's get right to it. I'm not even going to do a break.
No teaser today.
I'm going to tell you, there are two huge stories to start this show. They matter because they matter in so many different areas of your life that it's going to actually have a huge impact. The first one is the shutdown. But then even beyond that, we're going to talk about the filibuster. And I don't think a lot of people know what the filibuster really is.
Right.
We're going to break down what that is and why you should definitely care, because it really is important here. But I do want to start with the shutdown, which continues here. And I'll have you read a little bit of this article. Dan Boyd just put out an article. Governor Lou Ann Grisham has called another special session. Now, she's out of the country. Don't worry about it. She's not actually going to be there because she's off on some gallivanting trip in South America.
Yeah, she's at the climate thing or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So she's doing that. But there is another special session to pay for SNAP benefits. And obviously those are basically what you used to call food stamps, right? And so right now, with the government shutdown, there are many New Mexicans who are not getting food stamp payments here. So I want to talk about what's going to happen with the special very, very quickly. But then we have a tremendous, and I mean tremendous, breakdown from a United States senator on why there has been a shutdown and why it is absolutely unforgivable that we have politicians in Washington that are not doing their job and why they are holding things up. Literally, we have thousands of employees in the state of New Mexico right now that are not getting paychecks, and tens of thousands across the country. And then you have people that rely on their SNAP benefits, not getting those or could not get those.
Yeah,
now, the state of New Mexico, and the reason this is so infuriating is because what we're about to talk about, and that is that we are literally dealing with two senators in the state of New Mexico who are basically saying, hey, New Mexico, you pay for this. We're going to continue to sit out. Remember, when the state of New Mexico fills in that void with SNAP benefits, that's money coming right out of your pocket, okay? Now, if it's a federal deal and they're paying it across the country, then that's spread out across the country who's paying for it. But make no mistake, the bill coming to New Mexico is massive right now, and it's because we have senators that aren't agreeing to it. And I promise you, once you hear what we're about to tell you, it is fascinating stuff, and it will arm you with the information that you need when people say, why is the government still shut down, and is it worth it? And the answer is a very clear no.
Right. And again, the shift blaming of who's shutting the government down is something that we have to talk about as well,
Yeah.
because it just continues. You listen to one side of the aisle and it's like, oh, it's Trump's fault. And I'm just like, wait, no, they're not the one. He's not the one that's voting for the shutdown. So clarifying that. Okay, let's go into this article really fast. For the second time in 2 months, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham is calling legislators back to the Roundhouse for a special session prompted by federal funding concerns. The governor's office said Thursday the latest special session will take place November 10th and will be limited to appropriating more state funding to pay for food assistance benefits to more than 460,000 state residents.
Okay, and remember, we are the number one state in the country for SNAP benefits as far as a percentage of our population goes. Okay, so you have almost 500,000 people in the state of New Mexico who are sitting there wondering what's going on here. And part of the reason why, and really the biggest reason why, are our own two senators. But let's get one more disingenuous quote from the governor.
Okay, quote, "We are fortunate that several years of economic prosperity and sound fiscal management
Debatable. In fact, not debatable. Wrong. But anyway, keep going.
have enabled us to support New Mexicans in this time of need," the governor added. Quote, "However, we will not be able to fund these state supplements forever. Republicans in Congress need to come back to the table to end the longest government shutdown in American history and get everyone back to work. I'm pretty sure Republicans in Congress have voted to open the government."
13 straight times.
Yeah,
Or I
13.
think we're up to 14, actually.
And it is, 5 or 6 senators that continue to vote no? I mean, we need 5 or 6.
We need 5 or 6 more.
Right,
Right.
to
You
vote
need
yes.
5 more to vote yes. And if we had 5, again, every Democrat, with the exception of Fetterman and Cortez Masto and Angus King, those are 3 Democrats that right now are voting to open the government. They're the only 3. That's it. Every other Republicans have the majority, but you got to have 60 votes.
Right. So
Okay?
we need the help of Democrats to open the government. This is not a shutdown by the Republicans or by Trump. And that's maddening to keep hearing that. It's frustrating.
Okay.
Especially, don't forget,
Yeah.
we're not going to be able to pay our military. By next week, we won't be able to pay military members. And additionally, you think about the travel situation that's getting ready to approach with all the holidays. TSA lines are already starting to creep up. They're canceling flights as of this past Friday. They're going to continue to cancel flights. Air traffic controllers are, it's a mess. So
Yeah, no. You're absolutely right. And so let's and we've hit on those before, but I listened to a soundbite from Senator Steve Daines from Montana. And when he did this, and I was watching it at the time, and he finished, and I was like, holy cow, no one has laid it out this way, this clearly, as to why the Democrats have said, listen, we're done. We're shutting down the government, and here is why. So Steve Daines laid out exactly the reasons and how ridiculous all of this is. And it's about 2 minutes long. So I want you to be patient with this. But once he says all this and lays out, and again, went back through, and I've known a fair amount of this, but then we went back through and verified everything. There's no hyperbole in what Steve Daines is saying here. There's no like, oh, that isn't true. It's absolutely all true, what he's about to say here. But he does such a really good job of laying out why. And everybody says, well, it's healthcare. It's healthcare. They're staying out for healthcare. And that's true. That part of it is true. But the amount of people affected by this and what's happening here, it will infuriate you once you listen to what Steve Daines said. So here's what we've got. 2 minutes of Steve Daines talking on Fox Business about the reason why the government is shut down and the reason why the Republicans are not doing anything other than asking for continuing appropriations to keep the government open. That's all they're asking for. Democrats are like, wait a minute, we want to negotiate more subsidies for Obamacare. And what happens here is Daines lays out very clearly why that is a horrific idea, just in and of itself. So here's Steve Daines.
Let me just step back for a moment and define the problem. Obamacare premiums have gone up 220% since it was implemented in 2014. Remember, Barack Obama said Obamacare was going to lower health care costs by $2,500. That was the promise. It's up 221%. These now subsidies that were put in place temporarily by the Democrats during COVID are set to expire. They were never meant to be permanent. What Chuck Schumer's asking is to now extend these temporary subsidies that are paid to Americans for like we're a family of two that make over $100,000 a year. But where do these subsidies go? They go directly to the insurance companies. So it's doing nothing to address the issue of the unaffordability of Obamacare and health care. Their stock prices, Larry, if you look at the major healthcare insurance companies over that same period of time, going back to 2014, are up 500% to over 1,000%. So the insurance companies are making out like bandits, while the American people, frankly, are feeling the pain of Obamacare. And remember one final point. When you think about how many Americans are on the exchange, receive Obamacare, it's 7%. So 93% of the American people receive their health care through Medicare, through Medicaid, through private health care. It's 7% that receive it through Obamacare, and it's a much smaller subset of that 7% that actually get this subsidy paid to the insurance company, not even to the consumer. And so the Democrats, bottom line, are shutting down the entire government, disrupting air travel, not paying the troops because of these subsidies that were always meant to expire. That's the fight. So what did Chuck Schumer just do? He said, let's extend them another year. We're not going to do that without significant reforms at best. 20% of these subsidies are fraudulent. This is a terrible $50 billion a year fraudulent subsidy program that we have got to stop or dramatically reform. We're not going to let Chuck Schumer extend it another year. That's what he proposed here about an hour ago. It's nonsense.
Okay. I want to go back through that for a second because there was a lot there. So what he's basically saying is there were additional subsidies during COVID that were offered to higher income Americans. Okay, and said, hey, we want to help you out during COVID. They always had a sunset clause on them. Okay, and what's happening now is what we've seen is because Obamacare just keeps climbing in price, Obama made all these promises that it was going to be cheaper. It's not, obviously. So the point he's making is we have to fix the system. I don't think there's anybody who's arguing that. You've got to fix and make healthcare cheaper, but you can't take a system which includes 7% of the people, right? That's all Obamacare includes. And we're actually two of them, right? We're on Obamacare. But most Americans are not on Obamacare. Okay. But what they're saying is we want to keep these subsidies rolling and we're going to try to negotiate that here. Meanwhile, all that subsidy goes to insurance companies and all these fat cats and insurance companies that keep getting richer and richer. The whole point of what he's saying is you've got them piling on all of this. You're just shutting down the government, creating a massive amount of pain for something that does not justify it. So what does justify it? Sitting down face to face, Republicans and Democrats, and coming up with a better system than the one that we have. But right now, that's not what they're doing. They're asking for more cash for insurance companies and a system that's clearly failing even the people that are in it. And so it makes this ludicrous and it makes no sense. So then you look back and you say, who keeps voting to shut this down? And it is our very own senators in this state. So if you are waiting on your SNAP benefits and you're hoping that the state fills the void, or if you're in the state of New Mexico and you're like, wait a minute, why is all of our money being flushed into this for a government shutdown over this? And our senators don't care enough to say, this is ludicrous, we can't do it. But they're not. And so Daines is really good there, in my opinion, just explaining exactly where we are.
Yeah, I think it was very clear. I mean, he definitely clears up a lot of it. And you wish that more media, even our local media, would have our state senators on and saying, or our U.S. senators on, just to say, hey, listen, what about this? What about this? And how much is this costing us on a statewide level to keep supplementing the SNAP benefits for the folks that live here in New Mexico? And really, do you think this is the most appropriate way to go about this?
The amount of pain they're causing for what this is in a broken system that they are really putting so many different people at risk for something this especially inappropriate because it's not working. The system itself isn't working. Now, I do understand negotiating, saying, wait, we've got to sit down and figure out a solution to healthcare because the Obamacare exchanges are exploding in price. They are. And too many Americans and too many New Mexicans pay too much for their healthcare. It really does, it is an issue we absolutely have to address. But just when he lays it out that way, you see how ludicrous it is that all of this is happening. You're selling so many low-income families up the river just to be able to say, oh, no, we're holding out. It's all political. It's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke.
It's terrifying to me that these guys follow this thing over a cliff this way, and they take their own constituents and say, I don't care what happens in your life. Too bad we're fighting a political fight here. I don't know how they sleep at night. I really don't.
Well, and I think what's even more disingenuous is when we see our House reps, posting, making comments about how, again, the Republicans are closing down the government and, like they don't care about the state of New Mexico and they don't care. And I'm like, wait a minute, again, like, how about you call up your fellow senators?
They know.
Oh, they do know.
Yeah.
But just to shift the blame instead of saying, let's be transparent about what's actually going down here. I mean, heaven forbid we have anybody that does that.
Yeah.
So I think, it's beneficial in states in which you have representation that's being honest with the public. In our state, we have 5 reps that are not being honest with the public, and between House and the Senate. They're not being genuine about what's actually transpiring. And so I think people get confused and then they start to shift the blame and they say things that aren't actually true.
No, and they try to fog it up, right? That's how politics works. And again, that's why we have so much. That's why we're so hard on the media in this state. And I get it. From the media's perspective, this is tough. But go dive in, do a little bit of research.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. But once you hear someone lay it out really clearly like this, and you can't lay it out in a quick soundbite. You do have to, in defense of media in this state, like if you're on a TV station and you don't have 2 minutes to explain or have Steve Daines explain to you exactly what's happening, but you got to dive in and do the research. And then maybe you do tell your reporter on the story, you get 4 minutes.
Yeah,
tell me why.
I was going to say that, I'm sorry, but this is affecting more New Mexicans in our state than any other state that's on SNAP benefits. This should be the lead story at night, and they should be given more time to actually explain the program, what it's impacting. And then, are you going to get one of the U.S. senators to even talk to you? Probably not. But again, you're trying to get them on the phone.
You know why they don't talk to him? They don't talk to him because they don't think they have to. Like, if you're a U.S. senator, you don't care if KOAT or KOB or KRQE calls you. You don't have to answer to them. They never hold you to account. They never rip you. If they would honestly, if any of these stations, the Journal, any of them, if they would shred these guys when they do stuff like this and hurt people, they would eventually start answering your phone calls.
Well, I know.
Because they'd be like, we can't have this.
And, honestly, this is a great story for Chacon because he's honestly one of the most solid reporters that I see politically for the New Mexican. And I would love for him to be able to get a hold of these guys and put their feet to the fire a little bit.
But I would argue on them and even on the Journal, they just don't have any reach anymore. And so then you look at him and you go, okay, what difference does it make if the Journal roasts you on something? Their circulation isn't what it should be. I mean, it's a bummer because this is why I keep harping on this. The media has absolutely signed their own death warrant in this state because they don't hold people to account. They don't matter. So when it comes time to get answers, they don't get them and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that they don't get them. And had they demanded response from leaders, no matter their political party, just saying, you're going to answer to us because we're going to fight for what people want to know. But instead, when you start getting into the political world of taking sides, and even sometimes taking sides is not covering stories because you're just like, oh, we're not going to do that.
No,
right? It's super insidious, right? The stuff that doesn't get covered. Mm-hmm. But now it just doesn't matter. So when you've got these 2 senators who clearly are hanging up funding for people who desperately need it. Why? Because they want to keep funding going from COVID era that's sunsetted and affects a small minority of people. There's no question those things matter, but you have to address them in the proper way. And so I just find this to be and that's why I think this story really does matter.
Oh,
even
it does
beyond
matter. I think it absolutely matters. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll call the U.S. senators. You think they will return our phone calls?
I'm pretty sure they will not. They will not. But I'd be more than willing to have him on. We'd sit down here with Heinrich and we'll have a word with him. Ben Ray, hey, look, I think Ben Ray's a nice guy, but this is a disaster.
Yeah.
Stop it.
And continuing to blame this on Trump and the Republicans is
that's
really
politics too. Yeah, I know.
It's just disingenuous. That's all.
No,
I'm just saying, hey, if it was the Republicans that were at fault with this one, we'd say it, but they're not. So
no,
stop.
believe me, we're gonna rip Republicans here in a minute for what I think is a terrible mistake.
Okay, let's jump into that really fast. Because
different mistake. Actually, this one's a different mistake too, but one beyond that. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit right now because the latest news right now is Republicans Do you or do you not end the filibuster in the Senate? Okay, so first off, explain the filibuster for folks first, and then we'll get to the article, because I think there's still some confusion out there on what is a filibuster. People just know it's when you talk a lot. But really,
That's true.
That's basically what people think of when you think of filibuster. So explain it, the breakdown, and why it matters so much for us to not end the filibuster.
Well, okay, and again, I will tell you, what we're about to bring up right now is an issue that I had one opinion on, and now I'm sort of spinning and trying to find a solution to bring to you, because I don't like to be spinning and not have an answer for you. So the filibuster is this. It applies to the United States Senate. And basically what it says is, on most bills, there are some exceptions. There are some exceptions for especially bills having to do with the budget and things like that. But most times in the United States Senate, you need 60 votes to pass something through. Okay, that's the difference between the Senate and the House. The House is a bare majority. You get one extra vote versus your opponents in the House and your bill passes. Okay, that's the way the House works. House is vicious like that, and that's the way it is. The Senate is different. Okay, the Senate is called the greatest deliberative body in the world, because you have to get people from both sides oftentimes to come together and agree. Now, that slows down a lot of legislation, right? Some things just never pass because you never get those 60 votes. And in a lot of cases, that can be good, but you also force people to work together and to compromise. Okay, so that is really important. Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, the Democrats started saying, we want to get rid of the filibuster. Okay. Now, if you get rid of the filibuster, what that means is that bare 51 votes that it would need to get through the Senate, because there are 100 members of the Senate, that bare 51 votes could mean massive changes. Okay. Now, there is one area where the filibuster has been removed. Okay. You used to need 60 votes for judicial nominations in the United States Senate. Harry Reid, Democrat majority leader of the Senate, got rid of it in 2013. Okay. Mitch McConnell told him at the time, you will rue the day you did this. You will never live this one down. Okay? McConnell was right. Right now, we have 6 conservative members of the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay? Most of them did not get 60 votes to be on that court. They got the bare minimum 51. Okay? So you've seen a ton of lower court judges fly on through, getting their 51 votes. Okay, and it's happened on both sides.
And so right now, obviously, if you're a conservative Republican, you're thinking, well, goodness, I mean, this is so great for us on the Supreme Court side because we have great representation for the conservative body.
Right.
Not so fast. So
that's what you look at and you say, okay, if you don't have that real forward-looking, sensibility like Harry Reid did not, all of a sudden, now you look and Democrats say, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Supreme Court, right? They don't like it. They don't like the Supreme Court.
They're like, what happened? How
now,
does
what
happen?
if you had needed 60 votes for every one of them? Would you have had the same members of the Supreme Court? You probably would not. Okay, but not the point, okay? But that does tell us at this point that that's one of those things that you can pass something thinking you're doing the right thing in the moment, and it could hurt you down the road. Well, now Trump has said, I want the filibuster gone. Okay, so if the filibuster was gone today, by the way, the government would be open because Republicans would vote to open the government. Democrats wouldn't have a role, be like, nope, fine. You don't want to open the government. We don't care. We're opening it, right? They would pass a continuing resolution, a CR that would fund the government, and you'd be all set to go. And that's kind of what Trump's saying. He's like, they're getting in the way of all this stuff. We need to move things along faster. And so Trump has proposed doing away with the filibuster. And here's what the Wall Street Journal says when Trump announced this to senators last week. Here's some of what the feedback was.
So here's the headline. Senate Republicans say no to Trump after a year of saying yes. GOP lawmakers reject president's plan to end the shutdown by killing the 60-vote filibuster rule. Key points, President Trump urged Republican senators to eliminate the filibuster's 60-vote threshold to pass legislation with a 53-47 majority. Many GOP senators resist ending the filibuster, viewing it as crucial for minority party influence and Senate distinctiveness. In recent interviews, 15 Senate Republicans pledged to preserve the filibuster, while a half dozen said that they would like to see the rule changed or nixed. Trump warned Republicans that resisting would be a, quote, tragic mistake, arguing that Democrats would eliminate it anyway if Republicans didn't act first. It was a tough sell. The filibuster is an especially sensitive issue for senators. Many see it as the critical tool that differentiates the Senate from the House and ensures the minority party's concerns are taken into account. And while ending the filibuster would pay off immediately for Republicans now, they would be frozen out if Democrats won back the Senate. Back at the Capitol later that day, Republican senators mostly dug in. Some declined to say how they would vote personally, but emphasized there weren't enough Republican votes to kill the filibuster. Other GOP lawmakers were adamant that they would never flip from no to yes, even if they understood Trump's argument.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Okay. Now, at first, believe me, and I still think I don't want to see it go away. I don't. I think this is terrible for the country. Because you're going to see massive shifts, right? You're going to see massive shifts.
It's going to be a big swing constantly.
There's no question, right? I mean, you're going to see these massive changes. J.D. Vance, though, came out firing right away on this, obviously, former member of the Senate about getting rid of the filibuster.
Here's his tweet. Many of my friends and former colleagues in the Senate are against eliminating the filibuster because they don't think the Democrats will do it. That is just obviously wrong. The reason the filibuster exists is because of Democratic senators Manchin and Sinema. Both of them had their careers destroyed by the far left for protecting the filibuster. And you better believe every Senate Democrat internalized that lesson.
Okay, so JD's point is pretty simple, and that is if we don't do it, they will. It may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but the first chance they get, every single Democratic senator will jump on board, get rid of it. They will pack the Supreme Court. They'll add states. They'll change the electoral. I mean, everything they can do.
Right. They'll add Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., so they'll have bigger representation.
Exactly.
Yep.
So we'll see about that. But let's listen to Trump make the case that, wait a minute, you better get rid of the filibuster now because this is your one chance because it's on the way out anyway.
Remember, Republicans, regardless of the Schumer shutdown, the Democrats will terminate the filibuster the first chance they get. They will pack the Supreme Court of the United States, pick up 2 states, that's a lot of states, and add at least 8 electoral votes. Their 2 objectors are gone. Remember, Sinema and Manchin, they're gone. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid, Republicans. Fight, fight, fight. Win, win, win. We will immediately end the extortionist shutdown, get all of our agenda passed, and make life so good for Americans that these deranged Democrat politicians will never again have the chance to destroy America. They tried to destroy your country. Republicans, you will rue the day that you didn't terminate the filibuster. Be tough, be smart, and win. This is much bigger than the shutdown. This is the survival of our country. Terminate the filibuster, and let's live the great life that this country is capable of living.
Okay. I get the point. I do get the point. And I'm definitely more open to it than I was even 24 hours ago. And I worry, though, that by getting rid of the filibuster, it's more of a sign of where we are in our politics today, which is burn it to the ground politics. Mm-hmm. You take your side and I take my side and never the two shall meet. And I think that is a really rough place to be as a country. But I do understand the point. And can I play one other thing before I?
Yeah, I mean,
sorry. Do you want to?
No, I was just going to say, like, it just there's something about it that really bothers me in the fact that, you know, we're a democratic republic, and I feel like when we start saying one side of the aisle gets all the power for the years that the president is in, that makes me uncomfortable because I feel like that's what part of our process is, and I understand that, you know, the democratic republic type style of government definitely doesn't succeed very often in other parts of the world, right? I think the longest one before us was over 200 years, something to that degree. I feel like this starts to shade away a little bit, chip away a little bit at how our system works. And I know that might be over-exaggerating it, but I see that as a red flag personally.
Well, I do think so. Here's the bulwark against what you're saying, which is you're right. So in a presidential year, for example, let's say 2028, okay? Oftentimes, especially when you have a strong presidential campaign, they carry in a Senate and a House with them, right? It's coattails. Mm-hmm. It happened with Trump in 2024. It happened with Biden in 2020. Okay, it did. Those things absolutely happened. It happened with Reagan. So now the next congressional election, it flips. You'll lose the Senate quickly. You'll lose the House quickly. And so when those things start to happen, then those things back off, right? Those are the governing principles against, but the one party rule, it's that floating in with a president that you get 2 years. And that's really all the president gets then.
Okay, so let's take a listen to this clip with James Carville. And it's just a weird tone, I think, coming from him. But we'll play it and then we can discuss it afterwards.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. A Democrat is going to be elected in 2028. You know that. I know that.
No.
It's going to be a Democratic House. It's going to be a Democratic Senate. The Democratic president is going to announce a special transition advisory committee on the reform of the Supreme Court, that we could have our third branch of government has lost the faith and trust of the American people, and as president, we're going to do everything alone. He's going to appoint a blue ribbon, maybe Judge Ludick and the dean of the, just the usual fucking suspects, all right? And they're going to recommend that the number of Supreme Court justices go from 9 to 13. That's going to happen, people. That's going to happen to you. They're going to win. They're going to do some blue ribbon panel of distinguished jurists, and they are going to recommend 13, and a Democratic Senate and House is going to pass it, and the Democratic president is going to sign it because they have to do an intervention so we can have a Supreme Court that the American people trust again. So just keep that in the back of your mind. And I would bet a lot of money that that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. And there have been a ton of Democrats who have advocated for this. There's no question. They have. They've advocated for it.
So this is why you've kind of turned your side of the argument on this a little bit, because you think it's going to happen regardless. So we might as well do it while we can. Is that kind of what you're thinking? Or
I'm not saying that right now. What I'm about to propose to you is something different.
Okay.
Okay. And so this may be Pollyanna and it may be ridiculous. Okay. But I am gonna propose this to try to save the filibuster. Okay, because I want the filibuster to be saved. I have this still. I still have this Pollyanna
no, I don't think it's
of
Pollyanna.
the United States Senate. I do though, but because I just feel like we're a better country when we are forced to talk to each other and to grind it out.
Right.
I just do.
Well, it's why you and we've talked about it, over and over and over here on a state side. Our state would be so much better if we had equal representation, even in our local House and Senate. Because when it's one side, one power for 80 plus years, we're driving ourselves into the ground.
That's not good.
It's very similar in the same thing as saying, I just think when one party has ultimate power, it's dangerous. That's not how we were founded.
And even if it's 2 years at a time, right? You elect a new president, he or she gets
ushers in their things,
their Senate. Yeah. They get their Senate, their House. They don't last any more than 2 years because it doesn't go well. Yeah. But that's what happens. So, all right, here's my theory, and this is not solely from me. Jeremy Boring also has this theory, so that I don't deserve any credit for this. I ripped some of it off and then pulled some of it in here. But basically, here's how I try to ensure the filibuster stays, and that is make it a constitutional amendment. Add it in through the Article 5 process of the Constitution. Okay, so what would that mean? What would we do? Okay, the first thing you would do is draft the amendment, okay? And it's define the rule that for most legislation, currently the way we have it, it would require a 60-vote threshold to get out of cloture and put something out for a vote in the Senate. Basically, it would require 60 votes to get something through the Senate.
Which is what we have right now.
Which is what we have right now, okay? So what would that require? Well, it would require 2/3 of both chambers of Congress to support this. Okay, so roughly that's something like 290 House members and 67 senators would come in and say, okay, you got it. We want to hold on to this thing. We don't want to blow up the Senate and turn it into a mini version of the House, right? Let's do that. Okay, then you got to ratify it, and you got to get 3/4 of the states, meaning 38 of 50 states, to go through their state legislatures and approve it. And then it's into the Constitution, basically. Okay, those are some of the basic details. I'm leaving some parts of this out, but those are the basic details. And then if I were the Trump administration, I would go to Democrats and say, we got to do this in 3 months. All right, now, admittedly, constitutional amendments can take anywhere from a couple of months to years and years and years and years.
Where you might be Pollyanna on this is just how long this process might take.
I totally agree.
And Trump saying, listen, we have real crisis and real need right now, so let's end the filibuster. I don't see Trump ever getting on board for this idea. I think this is a solid idea, actually. I like this idea better than just eliminating the filibuster, but also still protecting us from the other side trying to do it. I think that that's a smart game plan. I just don't see Trump getting on board for this. I think he sees the immediate need. He's not running again, so he's trying to get as much as he can across the, across the bridge, basically, and try to improve American lives right now. I think that that's what he's trying to do, and I can see his passion, and obviously I understand it, because it's got to be maddening when you get put into office and there's a shutdown that makes zero sense to 90% of the country if they actually knew what's going on. So he's trying to override that. But
right, I totally get that. But that's why I go to Democrats and I say, look, we have 3 months to do this, and if we don't get it done, we're finished. Now, you want to know the truth? Democrats don't want it anyway. So I have a feeling they're going to say, see you later. It's not going to happen. Okay.
What do you mean? You think the Democrats don't want the filibuster?
No, they don't want the filibuster anymore.
And they don't care if it bites them in the butt?
Well, that's the question. So you're going to put them, this is what this thing does. And this thing actually puts them
in the hot seat.
On the hot seat.
Yeah, they got to make a decision.
Look, you want to give me, I'm going to nuke it. I'm going to nuke it. Or we can enshrine it in the Constitution. What do you want to do? Name your price. You just do it. And so that's where you're going to have Republican senators stand up and say, okay, we're willing to do this. I think this will get you a tremendous amount of votes in the United States Senate. That's what I think this will do. This will allow you to go to your Republican senators and say, I've tried. Mm-hmm. Now they don't want this thing. They're going to get rid of it. So you can stand here and stop us, but you're just enabling them.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's what I think it will do.
Are you going to try to get on the horn with Trump and give him this idea? You're going to send this little graphic
Don and
you
I
made?
talk regularly, and I'm gonna let him know. Look, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not going to lie, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out.
Okay.
I don't know,
well,
but I just am not okay with just like, get rid of the filibuster.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it. Let's go fight it out, because I think we will hate that day, because I think we will pay in a massive way.
Right.
I think we as a country will pay. I think we're a better country when we fight it out. And oftentimes we're a better country when we argue so much, nothing passes. That actually can be really good. Because too often things get, they get some momentum, and then the fact is the minority in our government should still have a say, and I can't stand it. So we'll see what happens with it. All right, we got to get to the election and what's going on with what happened last week in the election. We talked about it when we did our special here. You can go back and listen one episode ago with Jay McCleskey and Jessica Perez. Look, there are real concerns out there. We've been trumpeting this from the mountaintops on this show, that affordability is incredibly important in this country, and Trump has to wake up to this. He has to wake up to it. And I don't know that he has, but I think he's going to start to, because these results are horrendous in New Jersey and in Virginia, meaning the gaps that Republicans lost by. They should be terrified. And by the way, it's not just the governor's race. It's especially in Virginia, it is the House and the Senate in Virginia as well that slid way to the left. Look, if you can't make life more affordable in this country, you're going to get boat raced in 2026. It's going to be bad, and you can already see that, and there are a lot of people talking about it.
Okay, so here's Josh Hammer's tweet. It says, Tuesday's exit polls were clear enough. The economy, cost of living, affordability, and inflation are what Americans care the most about. That makes complete sense. Republicans must articulate a clear and compelling economic vision ASAP.
Yep, absolutely true. Okay, so then I want you to just listen to what Harry Enton says about some of the polling that we've seen that has come out since all of this, and some of the gaps between Republicans and Democrats. And if Republicans don't wake up, I'm telling you right now, if you think that the whole thing is the economy is better than you think, it didn't work for Biden, and it will not work for Trump.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of Republicans who saw those polls that, showed Donald Trump low nationally, and they didn't necessarily believe him. But for Democrats, those polls are real, and they are spectacular. And the reason I say that is because take a look here. Voted for the Democratic nominee among Trump disapprovers. I got 2017, Trump's first term, and 2025 in New Jersey and Virginia. In 2017, among the Trump disapprovers, the Democratic nominees got 82% in New Jersey, 87% in Virginia. Come over to this side of the screen. If there is any idea that Republicans are going to be able to outrun Donald Trump's low approval ratings, this says, nah, they're going to be like impalas getting chased down in the African desert by a big lion. Look at this. 93% of Trump disapprovers voted for the Democratic nominee in New Jersey, and 92% voted for them in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. The bottom line is this. What those results on Tuesday night showed us is that Donald Trump is absolutely a drag on Republican candidates in New Jersey and Virginia, likely nationwide. If you are in a state where Donald Trump is underwater, you are in big, big trouble.
Okay, so Trump can change this, but he has to have a laser focus on cost. That has to be everything he talks about. And while I appreciate a lot of the other things that have been done by this administration, if you're not talking about affordability, every single chance you get, he's going to get destroyed. The House is going to you're going to lose the House. I don't care who you redistrict. You're going to lose the House in a big way. You're not going to lose the Senate, but you are going to lose the House, and it's a huge deal. So he has to address these concerns, and I'm not sure he fully has come around to that.
Well, if you look at the Wall Street Journal headline here, it says Trump dismisses affordability concerns and insists prices are coming down. President says notion that GOP performed poorly in recent elections because of the cost of living is a Democratic con job, is what he's saying. So it says here, Republicans in Washington came away from the recent elections with a clear takeaway: focus on the high cost of living or risk big losses in the next year's midterms. President Trump isn't convinced. The president said this week that Republicans aren't talking enough about his administration's successes, and he dismissed questions on voters' concerns regarding the economy. Most prices are on the downswing, he argued. Quote, our energy costs are way down. Our groceries are way down. Everything is way down, and the press doesn't report it, Trump said. So I don't want to hear about the affordability because right now we're much less.
Okay, that's incredibly tone deaf and wrong. It just is. He's got to wake up.
Yeah.
He has to wake up. If he doesn't wake up, it doesn't matter what else he does. Literally, 26 is going to be a disaster, and then he can forget any other legislation. It will be done. All that will happen is that the Democrats will take over the House, and he will be the subject of endless investigations, and he probably will be impeached yet again because it's just what they do. Okay,
right, that's all they do
so
now.
there's just one last little piece of this, although there is some indication in this article from the Wall Street Journal that he may be getting the
Shifting,
point. And
yeah.
it's the last quote here.
Okay, so it says here, White House officials said Trump is expected to step up his economic messaging in coming weeks. After Tuesday's election, the conservative activist and former Trump administration official Steve Bannon interviewed Bessent, who made the case that the economy will improve as Trump's policies are fully realized. Quote, the house got burned down, and it takes a while to rebuild it, Bessent said on Bannon's podcast.
Now, look, I get that point, too, is that, you're less than a year in Trump being in office, and it's amazing because when Barack Obama took office, he blamed George Bush literally for years and anything that went wrong, and the media ran with it, right? Donald Trump is less than a year out, and all of a sudden you can't blame Biden anymore. It's all yours. That's not fair,
right?
But it's real. So
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's fair, right? So in other words, Trump has to go after affordability. It has to be the main thing that he does. So we will see, but it is one of those things that if he doesn't get his arms around this, then I'll tell you what, this is a disaster for him. It will be a disaster.
Well, I mean, and let's look at his job approval in New Mexico. We just talked about this on a national level.
Yep.
But let's take a look at it just here in New Mexico. I mean, he was at 45%.
Which actually is not a horrible number in the state of New Mexico. You want to know the truth? Because your job approval basically is your ballot number, is the way to look at it right now for him. And that's not a horrible number, I will say.
It's not a horrible number. It's just not a winning number.
No, it's not a winning number. And you got a lot of people who are wondering who's going to jump into a race, for governor and who's going to jump into a race for Senate and the House, and you look at this and you say, I can understand why some people have some real trepidation, because if the economy does not improve, you can forget it. Like, you can't outrun the president of your own party very often. A few people do. It's hard to do.
You did do it. I will say that.
Thank you. But it is, I appreciate that.
Well, you're one of only a handful of people
Right.
that have ever done it in the election.
Right, but it's very hard to do.
Yes.
Okay, so So therefore, that's why you have a lot of people that are just kind of like, I don't know if I want to get into the middle of this. So Trump has to address these issues. So we'll see what happens.
See if he does or not.
Yeah,
Okay, now we're not
absolutely.
going to spend a lot of time on this election, the mayor's election race, because like Mark said earlier, we did talk about that. So we've been saying from the last show and on now that this is going to be a pretty tight mayor's race between Keller and White, because we think it's going to be a super close race. Interestingly enough, Mark, I ran into a guy today at the grocery store of all places.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Out in the community.
People always talk to me at the grocery store. It
Yeah,
is like the place that people
It is the
really,
place to go. I totally agree.
It is kind of crazy, but like a lot of people want to talk to me at the grocery store, which is great. I'm like, let's hear it. Let's hear what you have to say.
I like this.
Interesting one today. This is a longtime Democrat, has a longtime Democratic family.
Sure.
They actually did fundraisers for Keller. They helped, they put signs up with Keller. They've been supporting him for years. And they're saying now, enough is enough. Like, how do we elect this guy that has driven our city into the ground? And so I thought it was an interesting back and forth. He's like, I don't know Darren very well, but I'm going to vote for Darren, because at this point, like, Keller is showing us no improvement and no game plan to do so, other than like, we're going to fight against Darren. And so,
yeah, it was funny too, because on election night, and that's interesting to hear.
Yeah.
And I think what's encouraging about that is, especially when you see what happened in Virginia with Jay Jones being elected after saying such horrendous things.
Horrible things.
I think what you always hope for in your country, in your state, or even in your city, and that is that I hope that people who are elected are held to account so that their results matter. And when their results matter, that's better for everybody. Because when you suck at something, why should we be prescribed to have you be our leader in perpetuity?
Again. And
right?
that's kind of what this is what this guy was saying, is he's like, how arrogant is he that he wants to run for a third term when he's just driven our city into the ground?
No, and you want accountability. Like, you want people to, and again, if you do a really good job and you're in the other party, I don't care.
Right.
Like, I benefit from that.
Yeah.
But if you do a crappy job and then because you are from one party or the other, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. I think that's such a corrosive thing. And so with what he said to you, I think that's actually really encouraging, especially from somebody who's not like, now I'm a Republican.
No,
you're not
he's
saying
he's,
that.
No, he's not. He's
Right.
saying, that he is what he said. I was a Kennedy Republican base, or a Kennedy Democrat for all intents and purposes. His parents were, and he said, but this party is just shifting so far that where am I? He's still a Democrat. He's just like, but I'm not voting for Keller again. Like, how do you reinstate somebody who has done terrible at his job? And so that is kind of the argument we've been making for the last, 2 years, when you see Keller just not make any, he doesn't even seem like he's in tune or self-aware enough to understand how bad things have become here. And so we want to play you this little clip from election night that we didn't show you on Tuesday night. We want to show it now because, again, it's like he just doesn't seem to be in tune with what reality is and what we need from our leaders. So this sounds like a 7th grade student election to me.
It actually doesn't even matter who gets first or second. Darren White, we are coming for you.
Okay. I do want to talk about this for a second. His little finger point, Darren White, I'm coming for you. Beyond like the performative, tough guy, stupid, like that's dumb. We all get that. That's fine. But it's not about you, Mayor, and it's not about Darren White. It's about the people you serve. And when you sit there and try to turn it into this mano-a-mano tough guy routine, which he's not the guy for that, by the way. There are people that are tough guys that are in public service and stuff like that. They do exist. He's just not one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think when you see that sort of thing, it's that tone deaf part of him where he's been in office and been surrounded by people who don't either tell him the truth or are just completely delusional. You just watch him and just go, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so that's what will be very interesting, because I don't think we totally know this yet. I think it's a coin flip race. I do. I think it's a 50-50
I think it's
race.
a coin race, but I think what you're seeing is, at least the people that I've been talking to, not even just this guy in the parking lot today at the grocery store, but other people from both sides of the aisle, right, that are saying, we have great pride in New Mexico. We love our state, which Mark and I have said this ad nauseum. It's a beautiful state, great weather, great food, great people, kind people, and it's being driven into the ground. And enough is enough, and people want some real change. And so I think what has to happen, and what I hope people are starting to get educated on, is the fact that if you want real change, you have to elect different leaders, city leaders, mayors, governors, everything. Nothing changes. State reps, by the way, nothing changes until you change the people that are in power, right?
But this is what makes it so hard if you're Tim Keller. And I think this race, I think it will break late. Okay, I do think it will break late. I don't think it's going to be one of these races we're going to know a whole lot in the next couple of weeks. I think it will break late. But I think ultimately when you're trying to defend things like this, and this is the most dangerous cities in the country, and Albuquerque is number 4 now in the country, most dangerous cities in the country, the murder rate under Tim Keller has quadrupled. Okay, he has overseen the largest increase in violence of any mayor in the history of the city of Albuquerque. Those are really tough things to explain your way out of. And I think now what's interesting about him is he's even sort of stopped trying to explain his way out of it. He's trying to shift the blame somewhere else. And again, we have to show this.
Yeah, this is my favorite part of the entire debate that they had, the mayoral
the
debate.
entire campaign to this point.
Because here is the truth. Here is this guy that's the mayor who's like, I cannot stand on what's happened because I have driven my city into the ground. So therefore, what am I going to do? I'm going to make a joke of it and be like, well, what are you looking at me for? It's not my job to fix the problems.
This is flabbergasting what he says here. This is still great. So everybody, I mean, if I'm Darren, this is what I run in the app.
Oh, all over and over and over.
Okay, so here it is again. We've played this for you, but we've got to do it one more time.
Yeah, it's just too good.
Tim Keller responding to crime.
In downtown,
especially. And how do you deal with crime? Now, a good mayor would say, listen, here's what we're doing, X, Y, and Z. Here's what we need to do better, and here's what I'm implementing, and we will get this under control, and then you show results.
But he can't do that.
No.
He can't do that, Mark, because he can't stand on his record.
No. He's not even doing that. No, he's not. This is the greatest answer ever.
The challenge around downtown, I think this is a good one where at least those of us who were born and raised here, downtown has been a challenge for decades. And part of the problem is that we look to mayors and politicians to fix it. I do think that's part of the problem. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying with our tax increment district, they get their own money and then they can decide what to do with it. The actual community, giving power to the community, I think, is leadership. That is something that I've listened and heard about for decades, and it's something no politician has ever been willing to do.
Time is up.
No one's been willing to do it because they actually take their job seriously and they don't shift blame to the TID. They're like, hey, we got a TID district here. You guys, we got the TID. You guys can do what you want. This is so ludicrous.
Hey, get your flashlight, get your badge.
And you go fight it.
You go protect
incredible.
us. We don't need to, taxpayers' money going to pay for the police and paying for, to keep us safe. And by the way, Mayor, maybe look up a definition under what does a mayor do. One of your number one jobs is to keep your community safe, right? It's like, and he's like, well, if people are looking at me to do that. Like,
but I got to admit, the huevos on this guy to be like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to take care of it, not me. It's so that's why I think it's going to take a little while for this thing to really settle out. But I do think this could be a fascinating race. I think Darren's got a real chance to win. And we'll have to wait and see what happens. And we'll talk about some more strategy with this as we go along. But it is amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
We did get a lot of comments, Mark. I didn't put them in here.
Yeah.
People wanting to know how do they help out Darren. Just go to Darren White I think it's Darren White for mayor, if I remember right. You can sign up to be a volunteer, get a sign, donate to his cause, right? Donate to the campaign. Honestly, that's the fastest way you can help out. I don't care if you've got $10, $20, $100, whatever you've got. He will need it to be able to get his message out to folks. So if you really do care, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. If you're tired of the way things have gone, even if you can't vote for Darren, you can seriously still donate to his cause. So if you want to do that.
Okay. All right. We're going to wrap with some Sunday game day.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Here it is.
I'm so surprised.
Okay. That's good looking buck. I'm sorry. Look at the size of this guy.
Yeah, he's good size. Yeah.
The rack on him.
Yeah.
He's thick. He looks good.
It's so he's just posing for you.
No, he's posing. Yeah, and then I got him here. Just kind of. I think it's the same guy.
Okay. Yeah.
This was later in the night.
Well, he's just chilling.
Yeah.
He's real happy right there.
No, he's totally fine.
And it's so funny because these are it's pitch black out there. Obviously you have the camera that shows it at night.
Yeah,
but
it's a night vision. Yeah.
It is pitch black out there for this
no question. And then we got a little, we definitely got some Bobcat action too.
Look at him. He's back.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same Bobcat.
I don't know because there's this guy too. So it's another one.
Oh yeah, that one's bigger.
Yeah. He's bigger.
He looks bigger.
Look at him.
Yeah, no.
Man. So we're good on the game day. It's pretty solid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to talk about? Maybe like the fact that I spilled paint in your the back of your car. You want to talk about that a little bit? Do you want to forgive me? Are you going to forgive me yet? Well, so just so you know, everybody, we're picking paint for a house in the mountains. I had 4 colors of green paint. For the show, too. You'll be able to watch the show yeah. Coming up, I think, in February or March. Yeah. It would be called Mark versus the Mountain. Yes. Shocking. Right. So I bring up 4 different colors of green paint. We put them in a box. It's in the back of Mark's truck. Yeah. And then we get there in the middle of the night. It's dark. And so I don't realize the paint is spilled. And so I'm starting to grab all the bags out of the car. And Mark comes around and he sees that apparently there's paint everywhere. And it's green. Yeah. It's like the color of my sweater. So here's how this goes. First of all, there were those Sherwin-Williams samples? Okay. Yes. By the way, in Christy's defense, the Sherwin-Williams cans, the samples you get are hard to put on. They just are. And it's easy to not fully put it on and not really realize it. And so somehow one of them just wasn't put on enough. So when I went and looked in there and I pulled it out, there was no top on it. And I was like, oh my, and it's all over. So then all of a sudden I'm like, Christy, what the, I start freaking out. She's like, it wasn't me. And so she's like, oh, I'm out of here. Let me get our stuff out of here. So she immediately gets some bags, goes running out of the car, goes into the house. Now there is the house we're renting to do the show. There's Saltillo tile over most of it. But no, Christy runs back into the bedroom where there's white carpeting and sets the bag down. Because here's the thing. In my defense, though, it was pitch black. Okay, I can't see very well. So people that know me know that I have real problems with vision. I've had cornea surgery, so I don't have great vision. It's dark. The bags are dark. My clothes are dark. Everything's dark. You went running to the white carpeting after a paint spill. I didn't know anything was on the bag. I didn't know anything was actually on the bag. So not only do I set the bag down, I look at my side. My jeans are wrecked. They've got green all over them. Because she's on a roll. She loves her jeans. She's like, I got to get these jeans off and get them in and get them washed. This makes you sound like a total idiot. I didn't mean for us to go through all the details. No. So then she's like, okay. So she whips off the jeans, chucks them in the washing machine. She's like, well, I better make this as cold as possible to get this paint off. Well, of course, you need to go as hot as possible. It's water-soluble paint. It all would have come out of her jeans. But she washed them on cold. Yeah, because I wash everything on cold. Memorializing the paint on the jeans. Yeah, and paint just in Mark's car. So, yeah. And it's still there. My jeans will now become working jeans. But still, at the end of the day, it was such a disaster with this green paint everywhere. And I just made it worse. I just kept making it worse. Like, it was funny. No matter what I did, it just got 10 times worse. Literally, once we stopped screaming about all the paint, it was one of the funnier things we've ever been through. But here's the good news. I did pick some paint. And I think it's going to come off pretty amazing. We'll find out. We'll find out on Mark versus the Mountain. So thanks you guys so much for joining and spending a little time with us. We'll be back on Wednesday. So again, tune in, like, subscribe, and please make sure that if you are interested in getting our emails, you go to nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com. If you want to donate to our show and help support us there, you can either buy swag or you can actually just make a donation online as well. We appreciate all of your support. Biggest thing you can do, tell your friends and family about us. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks so much, you guys. God bless and have a great night.
You've been listening to the No Doubt About It podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at No Doubt About It Podcast. No doubt about it. The No Doubt About It podcast is a Choose Adventure Media production. See you next time on No Doubt About It.
There is no doubt about it.